By the way, I have to leave at at the top of the hour, Steve.
No problem. I don't think we'll be that long. So welcome everybody to the June 6th Ortelius architecture meeting. Let me share my screen. And, and also let me drop this link in the chat for you. Come on, chat there. My computer has a mind of its own today. It's decided it doesn't really want to work that hard.
Yeah, I have those days too. I call them, you know what I call them? I call them non-tech days. It's when all the tech just doesn't want to work for you. It has like a Monday, like
Yeah,
the stereotypical Monday, and I'm just like, okay, don't do anything serious changes on your system at all. Just go and read
yeah.
documentation or something rather, because it's not gonna, you're gonna have a frustrated day.
All
Just weird.
right. So just a quick recap from last time. We were talking about how to enable CD events. So it kind of came out to a consensus, and maybe a combination of things where we're going to do a global environment variable and a config file, um, that type of thing, leaning towards the config file because that can be versioned, that type of thing. So with that, assuming that we're going to have CD events turned on, one of the things that we need to look at is what events Ortelius is going to be interested in. Now, just so people know, just to give you a quick high-level view of CD events, there will be an event for something that starts, and there may be an event for running as well as an event for finishing. Like I said, my machine's being taken over. For some reason, Eclipse is deciding it wants to. Eclipse is going haywire this morning. All right. So with that, you have a starting, running, and finished event. For the most part, Ortelius is going to be interested in when things finish. We don't really need to know when something starts because we are interested in the results of that, what happened during that event. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does, yeah.
I don't want enable. So like we kind of talked about last time, the big disconnect that we have um, is associating the source code commit with um, the artifact, for lack of a better word, that was created. So that's one of the main goals that we want to make sure is we keep track of that relationship. So I think one of the things, obviously, we want to know when a workflow slash pipeline is finished. Um, One of the other ones is when a SBOM is, oh, no, let's look at when an artifact is finished running.
When you said
artifact. Yep.
sorry, go ahead. Finish your point two there.
All right. When an artifact is finished,
You'll say when an artifact is created.
yeah. Now, then the next one kind of begs the question is, do we care if we need to know when an artifact is published to a repository? So, in the build step, you go out and create your artifact, your jar file, your Docker image, but at that point, it hasn't been published for anybody consumed. Do we think that's going to be of interest? Because I think we should, because it'll give us the location of that it went to, where people can consume it from.
I would agree, Steve. I think if the data is available, we should grab it. But I have a question on your point one.
Yep.
Do we also want to capture the status of the workflow running?
Yeah. So I think if we dive into each one of these, we want to capture.
There's some completion or failure code, I presume.
Yeah. We want to capture the status. We want to capture the provenance. And salsa stuff. I'll just put it like that, real technical. And also we want to capture the git commit. And we probably want to capture where the logs are located.
Yeah, this is one of those more information is probably better than less.
Yeah.
That's probably a URI, I would think.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of as well. I don't think we want to suck in all the logs. I
No.
think we want to be able to point to stuff. I'm trying to think
So
if
you're
there's.
you're
Let's
saying
look
with
at.
logs, the actual
Yeah,
log data will lie somewhere else, right? And Ortelius will just read what's there. It won't actually store it itself.
we'll need
It's
to process the logs, and we'll need to look at them temporarily, but I don't think we have to do a long-term persistence on the logs itself.
okay. In terms of keeping it for like 5 years or something, or 2 years or whatever. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think just pointing to where the logs are
Yeah.
will be good enough for people to get to. And that's going to get into a whole security thing too if you actually start persisting stuff.
Exactly.
So when an artifact is finished being created, we really want to know the git source commit used to create. I have such a lag here. And then we want to know. We want to know any signing data. Uh, da, 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 da.
Do we have any way to tell what libraries are being pulled in, or is that only visible within the source code?
Well, that does bring up a SBOM. So there's there's a couple levels of the SBOM data, and I don't know if we need to break it out. So to answer your question, Tony, I think if you, one of the things I see is if you do an SBOM at the artifact level, so you take a Docker image and you run a SBOM generation tool, you're going to get a list of all the packages that thing is dependent upon, but there's no link to the source code SBOM. So one of the, and I don't know if anybody's actually creating source code SBOMs yet, which is bizarre to me, is at this level, when you create your artifact, your SBOM should have a list of all the source code files that were actually used to create that and the package dependencies at that point. Other SBOM data that I see that's missing is the SBOM of the build machine. So what was your build machine? Were you running on AMD versus ARM? Were you on Ubuntu, Wheezy versus Ubuntu? What's one of the other ones? Another version of Ubuntu, because that's going to make differences in if you want to try to recreate stuff. So SBOMs are multi-leveled, and the one we're talking about mostly is at the artifact scanning SBOM level.
How about the ability to see the identity of whoever launched the workflow?
That's the provenance.
Okay.
That the provenance has who started this thing, where did it run, has some of that basic details at that level.
When did it run would be part of that, I think.
Yes, exactly.
You're gonna
So
put in brackets there,
SBOM,
like provenance, who, what, when, why, how.
yep.
I won't remember that. The word provenance sounds like a great wine, though.
It's in the region of Italy.
Okay, there you go.
Actually, that would be France.
France, that's true.
I've been there.
Okay, cool. There you go.
So at this point, we need to know the Git. And we probably need to know the artifact. Okay, let's see what else. When the artifact, so on this one, I know one off the top of my head. We need to know. We need to know the artifact. Plural. That is being. And then we need to know the what should I call it? Like the repository, or where the artifacts are published to. What are those called? I'll go with repository.
Or, yeah, repository or destination.
Yeah.
And artifacts can be a bunch of different things too.
Yeah, that's why I'm just using them very generically here.
I was thinking of an art gallery. because that's where all your pictures go. And I was thinking of the artifacts being like all the paintings representing all
Yeah.
the different art.
Well, there you go. So
Yeah,
then we
sorry,
should,
I know that was really left. Like,
Okay. Trying to think what else we are interested in. I don't know if we want to. There's the SAST results or SATs is finished, and then we have DAST. In here, we need to know the. Well, again, we need to know the git commit. And then we need to know the location. And this is going to be the same for DAST. What other things happen in a workflow? Sashi, you deal with those most of the time.
sometimes, but
They run their
the like
testing tools.
quality
Yeah, so
assurance, all that stuff, security scanning, maybe secret vulnerability. I suppose that's part of your security stuff.
okay, we'll put
But most of the pipelines I come across are nowhere near this mature.
should we include things like Megalinter, the linting tools as part of this?
That's what I was thinking when I said QA. It's like part of QA, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like because we actually it does affect our um,
I just lump all that stuff
the
under
workflow
QA.
process. Just dump it
Because
under QA. All right,
I just
we'll
lump
put a
everything under
QA as a
QA.
bucket.
I just make it as the grand bucket for all that stuff because that's what you're kind of doing. I feel to your software, you're making sure everything's quality, right? Your code and
Right.
all your classes and all that stuff. It's all written
Yeah, because like here, I'll show you one I
efficiently
ran
and
it. I found this
correctly.
morning.
Yeah.
GitHub's super slow today. So, like one of our, we have the Dependabot or Renovate running, and Renovate created this pull request a couple days ago for us. So it has some changes it wants to do. And one of the interesting things is our Megalinter is failing, and because that check is not, you know, successful, this this pull request is actually blocked until we get in there and fix why this is happening, what the error is. CodeQL is another one of those. I'm just going to throw some of these in there.
Code QL. I don't think I know that.
It is another, let's see, I want to call it superlinter.
I'm gonna have to drop, guys. So have a good rest
All
of the
right, thanks, Tony.
All right, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Oh,
Take
I
care.
see. Look for
CodeQL.
vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and then you got Trivy.
So do you use like a number of them, like to kind of cover all the bases? It's like using multiple antiviruses.
Yeah, it's weird because there's one I found that Ortelius has found that none of the other ones have found yet.
Oh, interesting.
So
this is what I get worried about. Is like, how do you know you're not missing something because the one doesn't even know that there's a problem, right? Now,
right.
how do you know which one to trust? That's, I guess, why you use one or more than one, right?
Right.
Yeah, it looks really nice. It's made by GitHub. Yeah, it is. It's made by GitHub.
Yeah, it's one of the GitHub tools. So we have the OpenSSF scorecard. Try and think what other ones that we actually, let me look at our actions. So these are like our workflows. So we got the build one, build and release. We got the CodeQL. We had the linter. We had the scorecard. Try to think. Those are the main ones that we run. We currently don't do any like.
Are those each a YAML file individually? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Now. Okay.
And the reason is so the things can run in parallel.
Oh yes. Okay, I remember now. So you don't have to run them sequentially. They run all at the same time to save time.
Yeah.
Build minutes.
So like this. So the build push is running at the same time as CodeQL, Megalinter. So those are all running in parallel. But at the pull request level, the way it's configured is you can say that all the workflows have to be successful. So you'll see here at the bottom.
You've got like a catch that if one of them fails,
there's some rules.
Well.
Yeah, there's some rules that say that all of the workflows have to be successful before you can move on to merging this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Any other things that we normally would see in a pipeline, or even outside of a pipeline for that matter? Okay. Which ones? Let's go ahead and I'm going to kind of highlight the ones that we think that are going to be important. I'm going to say, whoa, that's a crazy color. I'm going to say the pipeline one, the artifact ones, the artifact published, the SBOM stuff, and I want to put in here the OpenSSF scorecard are going to be that would be the ones I would rank that we would first focus on. Any objection on that, or do you think we should throw in security scan or not?
I don't know. Yeah.
So if you look at ours, that would be, I don't even know what CodeQL produces. It's just one of those that you just turn on.
Oh, okay. Is this all going to be referenceable or searchable and viewable in Ortelius? All of this information, right?
Yeah. So remember we have that metrics and metadata chart that we worked on?
Yeah.
Let me see if it's down here. Yeah, right here. So we have our metrics and metadata chart that we'll be able to go through and gather stuff. So these events here are going to drive us capturing the metrics down here. So what we so the next step will be for each one of these events, which metrics are we going to be able to capture? So we'll kind of be able to put together like a matrix chart saying here's the event that we're going to look for, and when we captures this event and process it, these are going to be the metrics that we're going to be able to derive from that event.
Yeah.
So that will help us with our coding pieces.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we're going to kind of work our way to hook things together. I'm going to leave security scan off for now. We can always, and the SAST and DAST and stuff like that, and some of the linters for now. I think, what do we got? Basically five things that we're looking at. And I think that'll be a good start. Anything that we may be missing?
What's DAST again?
DAST is dynamic applications software testing.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Okay.
It's dynamic testing versus static testing.
Okay. Okay.
So static testing would be like a JUnit. And dynamic testing is like Zap Proxy, where you actually spin up a runnable version of your artifact, and then you throw a bunch of basically curl commands at it to see if it breaks.
So it's almost just like, is that like trying to impersonate a user using your site?
DAST is a little more, doesn't really want to impersonate a user. It is going to test how well your application can handle bizarre cases.
Okay.
And I had to double check how DAST is different than fuzzing.
Okay.
So, for example, I believe one of the DAST use cases is given your RESTful API endpoint, what does it do if I post a 2 gig file to that API endpoint?
Okay. Okay. So okay, I see what you mean.
So
how does it handle it? Like, what does it do? Yeah. Okay,
what does it do when all of a sudden you get a 2 gig file going to your API endpoint when it's looking for a an integer, and that's it.
So it looks for anomalies in some sort of way. You can shoot like anomalies at it, right?
Yeah. What happens if you send a bunch of query parameters that aren't relevant? Does it throw an error, or how does it handle those types of things? It's really, you can really think of it as endpoint testing.
Okay. Endpoint testing. Cool.
It's kind of hard to set up in a workflow because, well, especially like in a GitHub action, because you actually have to run the application and be able to throw things at it.
I guess it's all really down to what type of application it is and what it does, right?
Yep. In a monolith, it's pretty easy. You can spin up the monolith in with a fake database in a workflow, and then throw a bunch of stuff at it and see what it does. And it's really, like I said, it's trying to break the endpoints by just throwing random data at it versus more like a
Sounds like
testing
hacking.
tool. Yeah, it's definitely like on a hacking side versus a testing
Yeah.
tool that's going to say, I'm going to pass the first name, last name, and what happens if I just pass the first name? Is there an error check that's going to come back and say you forgot, you didn't pass me the last name for this endpoint? So that's slightly different than the DAS testing.
Okay. So I'm looking at a tool because you were asking if there's anything else. I'm looking at a tool called Ox Security, which gives you a graphic view of your entire pipeline. And it's got all these headings like Git posture, your code security, your secret P2 scan, open source security, SBOM, infrastructure as code scan, CI/CD posture, container security, artifact integrity, and cloud context. No, don't know if that helps us. Yeah.
Not at the event level. I think when
Yeah, not at the event level.
when we aggregate up the metrics,
Hmm.
I think that's where we could categorize our metrics into those types of things.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think that gives us a good starting point. And like a lot of this will correspond. So if we know that a workflow is finished, we can then look to see if how compliant that workflow was to Salsa. There's open source tools out. We'll go out there and do that for us.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So the next step that we'll have is to take this list and, like I said, do the matrix of the metrics and metadata. And then once we have that matrix, then we can figure out how we're going to trigger these events. Some of these events will come from existing plugins. Like Jenkins has a plugin for telling us when a pipeline started and finished that we can respond to. Other times we're going to have to go and monitor, pull Jenkins to see what's happening. Same thing with GitHub and GitLab. So there will be specific things that we'll need to write for the three. We basically said GitHub, GitLab, Jenkins. Oh, that brings up a question. Were you able to get GitLab running, Sasha?
No, I haven't got it running.
Okay.
I need to just create an Argo file. That's all, I think. And then I tried hacking GitLab, Argo CD a lot more.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to have to create an Argo CD file, YAML file, and override it that way.
Yeah.
I think that'll fix it. Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah. I think that's the only way, because I tried doing it through the GUI, the GUI, right? Doing it that way, but nothing worked.
Nothing got passed across.
Yeah, it's like the GitLab just overrides that. Whatever I was putting in from the GUI side just overrode everything all the time. It wouldn't, even though I had made custom changes. I tried the command line and I tried through the GUI actually. Yeah.
All right, cool. One step closer.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll work with the
Yeah.
Argo CD configuration file now.
Arvin, you got
I
anything
want to
else?
ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, we have to check up with the fidelity guys.
We have
It's
to
been
do
a
what?
long time, and we talk with the fidelity guys. Like developer with
Fidelity.
the from the yeah, because we did a meeting last year, and then we have to sync up with them again.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'll have to see if I have any contacts still with them. I don't know
I
who's still
think
on that project.
I think last time Brian Dawson arranged the meeting with Gary McMahon.
Right.
So maybe,
Oh, that
yeah,
company from Ireland.
no, not from
Not that
Ireland,
company.
I think.
Oh, okay.
I think it's
I
from
think that
US.
was the Captain guys, Sasha.
Oh,
Were from.
okay.
I think the Captain guys were from Ireland.
Okay.
Oh, that does
And
bring up one that we need to put on the list is when a deployment's finished. Whoops.
Like a notification. Is that also part of the...
Yeah, deployment.
Like to a Slack channel or something?
Well, we want to get that event when a deployment. So we need to know the artifact deployed. And we need to know where it was deployed. And we probably want to know the log for the deployment. So I added those to that. I just didn't share my screen. So that would come into play with like Argo and Captain because they're doing deployments. So we want to get a notification from an event kicked out from those tools to let us know that a deployment has finished.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thanks for bringing that up, Arvin. I completely forgot about that side.
yeah. And any updates for the dashboard that you are working on?
Not yet. I have some changes to deploy hub I'm making, and then I'm going to get my head back into the dashboard. So hopefully next week I'll be working on it. We'll
Great. Can you
see.
create a sprint so we can work on it also?
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe create a small issues.
Yeah, that's what I got to get my head back into it.
Yeah. And I also have a good news to share. I have completed my college.
Hey, well
Nice.
done. So when you
Wow,
start a new company...
congratulations. Congrats.
Thank you. I did my
you gonna...
last exam and the practical on the 4th of June.
No,
And
nice.
now I will get the degree in some months. So yeah, I will focus on Ortelius and my job.
So are you finally graduated, or do you have one more year left?
No, I have finally graduated. I got the degree later, but I am done with all the exams and the practical stuff.
Nice.
Oh, well done.
So now you're out. You're going to be out in the real world.
Yeah.
He's busy crowdfunding for his startup, looking for venture capitalists.
Yeah.
That's it, Arvind.
I want to work on the marketing side of the Ortelius.
Oh, cool.
Sounds good. All right. Anybody else
Because
have
we
anything
need,
else? Yep.
No,
We
no,
definitely
no.
need help on that front.
yeah, we need more focus on that front.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Cool,
Congratulations,
cheers,
Arvin.
team.
We'll see
Yeah,
you.
congrats,
Thank
Arvind.
you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.